Bom, 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 bom. Welcome, BizzleCast listeners, ladies and gentlemen, to the BizzleCast commentary of Pitch Perfect, the Avengers of A Capella, the Winter Soldier of musicals. This is the one that changed it all. And you might be wondering why I'm doing a BizzleCast about this, but this is very much a nerd culture. It's just a different part of nerd culture. But with all the Star Wars and Rocky and Breakfast Club references, it's still very much in that vein. But it is a team-up superhero movie. It's an origin story along the lines of the first Cat movie or the first Iron Man movie or the first Batman movie. And, against all odds, it doesn't quite reach John Hughes level, even though The Breakfast Club is so central. But this is an extremely relatable and fun and just tight as shit presentation, script, cast crew, the entire thing. Every look is so precious. You can really get something out of every frame in this movie. And at an hour and 40 minutes, at most, being generous, it's just, cut after cut after cut. You almost want it to slow down, but that's what makes it so great and addictive. This is Glee on steroids, and crystal meth. It's a movie that someone like me who loves music wasn't into the whole Glee thing, but just get behind it because the characters are so great. Obviously, Anna Kendrick as the lead kills it and actually plays a very different version of Anna Kendrick. I mean, she still got the coldness and the uptightness for sure, but her sort of alt badass, shoot from the hip approach is much different than her roles in like 50-50 and Into the Air, and so forth. Up in the Air, excuse me, which I say in and this will be a few notes, and I'm going to jump right into it. I say in the commentary I haven't seen Up in the Air, but in fact, since I recorded this a week or two ago, I watched Up in the Air with George Clooney and Vera Farmiga, and Anna Kendrick with a super support role that was nominated for an Oscar, and people actually thought she could win. She didn't, but it's a very impressive performance of a 21-year-old playing a 24-year-old as the personal assistant of George Clooney, who's just out of his mind as like the dude of aircraft travel. So I saw that, rewatched 50-50, great Anna Kendrick performances, but for me, the heart and soul of the movie, both thematically and on screen, but just for me, is Brittany Snow as Chloe, the mother, the one who keeps it all together. She's so pretty and natural beauty, and as I'll talk about, she had major issues being a child model and getting over body issues and having to deal with some stuff, and she is just rocking out. Anna Camp as the bitchy controlling leader is so appealing as an actress. You could just tell she's sweet underneath her insecure veneer, which is why when she gives it up eventually to Becca and decides to have a good time, it totally sells. I won't go on too much longer. I will make a few quick corrections. I refer to Aubrey as Audrey occasionally, and I have my constantly mixing up hims and hers, but you'll pick up on it. I have so much fun with this. There's almost no dead time because it's so fast and there's so much going on. And I'll end here before the countdown. The relationship between Jesse, played by Skylar Astin, not Tyler Austin, but Skylar Astin, and Becca is actually a great Hollywood romance, very understated, which is what makes it powerful. Even though it has a corny ending, it's not really corny the way it unfolds. It's very unique and relatable, as is everything in this movie. And to close, the music and dancing is so fantastic. You don't even care that it's lip syncing because they're lip syncing themselves. And yes, it's heavily produced, but it doesn't matter because it's so soulful in its delivery, culminating in the final live performance, which I'll talk about was really live, and which is why the energy at the end of that of this movie will never be replicated. As much as I love the second Pitch Perfect, directed by Elizabeth Banks, who's the brain trust and came up with this whole idea, directed the second. It's so hilarious. I could watch it forever. But this movie is undeniably minimalist perfection. And so I lead you into the countdown. Queue up your DVDs, Blu-rays, digital files, or whatever. 2000. I'm going to count down from 3 to 1 and then say go. And when I say go, you should hit play immediately. And this one lines up perfectly. So really try and line this one up, because I've watched this through with my podcast a bunch of times as I was editing it. And it's really one of my most precise podcasts, but also in terms, I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I love doing movies like this. I love that I'm changing course a little bit. I am doing a Les Mis podcast, which I recorded many, many months ago and have been waiting for, but I wanted to do PP first. Obviously, in this one, as I'm always saying, have some ambient sound, around 10%. But then when they do the music, boost it up to 20. And I try to leave some breathing space. So, feel free to do what you want with the volume. I was listening to it loud when I did this, way louder than usual. So that's totally cool. Now, with the subtitles, make sure you put on the closed captioning subtitles if you have the option, and not the normal subtitles, because the closed captioning subtitles happen to have the lyrics for all the songs. The normal ones do not. And one of the brilliant parts of this movie is the way that it's not just musically, but lyrically coming together with the mashups and the story that it tells throughout the movie. So cue everything up. I will give you a second to do so. Okay, that was a second. Pause if you need to. I'm going to count down from 3 to 1. Say go. You're going to hit play. And we're going to have a fucking great time with this fucking great movie. So here we go into the countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. Ladies and gentlemen, Pitch Perfect. If you're a loyal BizzleCast listener, you might be wondering why I'm doing a commentary to Pitch Perfect. But if you go way back to episode 7 with my buddy Brooke Hardy, who's an amazing young singer, songwriter, up and coming in Philadelphia, we geeked out on music in general, but specifically about our not so secret love for the Pitch Perfect movies, which I actually had only discovered much before I met her. In fact, I saw, as we watched this great opening scene, as in all great movies, a brilliant opening scene that sets the tone, both musical but cinematic, as well as the themes and the humor that we're going to see throughout the movie. And the best movies do that in the first scene, but it's also a quality establishment situation. And you immediately have Elizabeth Banks, brilliant, who they got to direct the second one. We'll get back to the fact that I saw the second before the first. And also the sort of backwards way I came to Anna Kendrick, who I now have like a huge, huge crush on, just in terms of her talent, and love watching her. And they call her a triple threat, singing, dancing, acting, but she's also hilarious and beautiful in a very relatable way. She's a woman of the people, and this movie absolutely proves that that's the case. She's had a really fascinating career. We'll get back to it. So, okay. So these are the troublemakers who are from the same university as these lovely ladies, the Bellas. And the lead singer... Right, so, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to make time for commentary. So anyway, so I actually saw Pitch Perfect 2 in the theater. I had heard that Pitch Perfect 1 was great. I was sort of turned off by the whole Glee thing, although, I went to a college with a lot of musicians. It was a musical college. Acapella was such a big deal that I kind of laughed at it, even though I had a lot of good friends who were involved in it, as just a cheesy thing that, pretty talented and attractive people would get involved with. That was just part of the whole club culture I didn't really get at the time in college. And, sorry, this guy just kills me. Bumper. They're fixing their boobs. The ladies are always fixing their boobs. And what's great about the Pitch Perfect movies, I got so many ideas to juggle here, and the movie moves so quickly. It's unbelievable. There's almost no time to linger. My main complaint is I would have added just 5 minutes of pauses throughout the movie, but I totally get why they wanted to keep it 140. It is a family movie. They're able to work in some sexual themes, but it's never vulgar. There's some disgusting humor, potty humor, like all the vomit stuff that we're about to see coming up with poor Audrey. The Bard and Bellas, here they are. Anna Kendrick, they have no idea what's about to hit them. But anyways, so me and Brooke nerded out about it. I had just seen Pitch Perfect 2 not long before, and then immediately went back, watched 1, and then when I realized how intricately involved This fine lady here, Elizabeth Banks, well, she directed the second one, which was what I saw first, but has been a producer on both and very heavily involved and just a singer herself and super talented. That turned me on big time when I heard Elizabeth Banks was directing the second movie. That might have been the thing that set me to the movie as much as anything was Elizabeth Banks directing it, because she's such a great talent, comedically, dramatically, just a brilliant comedic mind. And that she was directing the second one, I thought was so cool, and she killed it. And that's more of a straight comedy, and every look in this movie so precious. It's so on point. They're already making fun of how dry and old school and outdated this whole thing is, and that's the whole point. They have to, it's the Bellas meet the 21st century, as represented by, oh god, the vomit. It's so disgusting. It's so clearly baked beans. This is the one thing that keeps me with it. And then of course they have to revisit it later times 10. We know exactly where it is. It's all over the third row. Oh no! Boom! Right to the movie. Perfect. So if you watched the BizzleCast commentaries, or just listen, I should say, or listen to my commentaries and podcasts, I do a ton of nerd stuff, and part of that is just nerd culture, which I do love, has really blossomed in the last year or two, and it's very interesting to talk about, both in terms of the movie making, which has been pretty good overall, as well as the larger cultural ramifications. I've also had a lot of philosophy podcasts, some history podcasts. I'm just interviewing my friends who are writers and historians and teachers and, motivators and all sorts of stuff. Here we have sort of, early 90s, alternative grunge, Anna Kendrick in 2012, but God bless him, we got it. It's fun to see her be more Anna Kendrick-y in the second movie, I suppose. It's sort of more like a grown woman, but she plays the kid here great. And you have to remember, she was about, I think, like 25 or 26 when this movie was filmed. She just hit 30 recently, I believe. And obviously she's tiny and looks young, and so it's an easy sell as a kid. But she also has a youthful heart. She's been acting since she's a kid. She somehow managed to avoid what happens to a lot of young stars, models, theatrical stars, models, TV stars, movie stars, etc., singers. Oh, here we go. Jesse. I'm so happy they named him Jesse, because this entire movie is a giant fantasy of mine, essentially, to have, spoiler alert, Anna Kendrick singing to me that she loves me after I just killed it at a performance of my own. As a musician, I never did a cappella. I watch Pitch Perfect now and think, it was a missed opportunity. The problem is at my school, Wesleyan, it's so serious. Everyone that came in was already, the captain of their a cappella teams at their high school, and, could read music fluently, and I can do some of that stuff, but, I was way too raw, even if I had wanted to join that scene, which I didn't, because there's a weird, fratty, hazing culture to it that's, well, maybe we'll get back to that. They skirt that issue, actually, a lot in this movie. The kind of serious part of Pitch Perfect, and I do think that is saying some stuff about collegiate society and society in general, is the relationships within the band and how important it is for the band to be in tune on all levels with one another. Here's Benji, one of the best parts of the movie. I'm gonna be saying that a lot. Everyone kills it in these roles. I've IMDb'd the shit out of these characters. Most of these guys, as you would think, these two in particular are theater guys. They've been in some movies, not a lot, but I mean, Jesse on the left there, well named. I'll be saying a lot. Here's great. I'll get back to the fact that Skylar, what's his face, who plays Jesse, was in Rent, and he's been in all, Hairspray, I think, and a bunch of, he can really sing and dance and do things. But they found theater people who looked normal, who looked, yes, slightly older than their age. But if you're my age at like 35, you can barely tell the difference between a 25-year-old, 22-year-old at this point. So it works. And they sell it with their performance, but they all look normal. Like even, Brittany Snow, who's just stunning, another child actress who's had to go through a lot of shit. We'll get back to that. who's, one of the big three, I guess the big four if you count Fat Amy, played hilariously by Rebel Wilson. Um, Her dad, by the way, side note, is the one thing that feels slightly out of place. I didn't really buy that relationship, and they don't spend enough time selling it. He's like a poor man's Bryan Cranston. It would have been interesting to get Bryan Cranston playing his sitcom self in this role, was something that occurred to me. Right, he's talking about making memories in college, and the thing was, I was pumped for college myself. And then loop back to the casting of the movie and how these people are talented and schooled in all forms of music, dance, theater, film, television, and so forth. Right. And so this is sort of the slightly bitchy, self-centered, confused, but still very relatable Anna Kendrick. But yeah, I was pumped for college. I didn't really feel like I fit in high school. I mean, I had friends and I did fine, but I was, a liberal Jewish kid in a very rural and sort of waspy area. Now, I had my alternate life in Jewish summer camp, which I mentioned before, and Jewish summer camp is actually extremely similar to what these people's ultimate experience of college is. I sort of got that there, and then with my camp friends for a year, I took a year off before college, which I, was pumped for, and lived in Israel. And living in a foreign country, and working and living on your own, and then going back to sort of a high school plus in college was a rude awakening to me. And while I established a huge group of really close and awesome friends who are still my closest friends in college, ultimately, I was pretty miserable. I was like, I felt like I was Jesse, crossed with Benji, crossed with Anna Kendrick as Becca. I was like some cross between all of these various characters who are confused in different ways. But I was also old. I mean, I was old for my grade. Then I was off a year. I turned 20 my freshman year. There were 17-year-olds on my hall. This all seemed very juvenile to me. And it is very juvenile, and they make fun of it in the movie, but they're never condescending towards it because they clearly love the material, and that's always the best way to do satire. I don't know if I would call this straight satire. The second one gets a little bit closer. I just noticed the guy lifting dumbbells in the background to the right there. It's hard not to look at the salami tits or whatever that girl has. Okay, so this is the establishment scene. We know that Audrey threw up. That's traumatized her. We'll find out later that she had sort of a rough upbringing with her dad. But these two had to take over, against the better wishes of the people who recruited them, who were graduating. It's never clear why they don't recruit anyone, and then they have to recruit everybody. That's how it works in real life. That's fine. And that sets up this whole plot brilliantly, because you needed the motley crew. So why do you get the motley crew? Okay, here it is. And they're having the philosophical argument already. On the right here, Brittany Snow, who plays Chloe, she's a pragmatist. I mean, she's an idealist in terms of being peppy and loving life and loving people and so forth, but she just wants talent. She immediately recognizes that, and yes, pause, I am doing a serious commentary, but bitch perfect people, I'm also going to laugh at Rebel Wilson. I suppose she's a controversial character, but she's so clearly the coolest and funniest person in the movie, and that's the whole point, and that's why she really represents what's amazing ultimately about this group of young women that come together, is her, with Anna Kendrick being, the more traditional Hollywood front, lady, of course. See you in auditions, Fat Amy. Right, okay, so Audrey is starting to buy. She's starting to buy a little bit, we do need good singers. Okay, so here, this is all improv. If you read anything about this movie, right here, when she gets on the ground and she's smiling and improv in her Little Mermaid dance, you can hear either Aubrey or Chloe or both of them laughing briefly in the background. I think they left that in there on purpose. Brittany Snow and Chloe talked about how they would just let, during breaks, or they just let the scenes breathe. They let, these are the deaf Jews. Becca thinks they're DJs, immediately is alienated by the first thing that attracts her. She's trying to get into something. She only cares about music. It was me, some Aboriginals. It was really Jewish. full on Jew. The thing is, they crushed the Germans so much in the first and especially the second movie. And Elizabeth Banks, although she's very, not Jewish, has spent so much time working with artists like Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, etc. She gets Jewish humor 100%. I don't know if the writer of the movies is totes. Okay, and this was great about Brittany Snow. She just manages to never be annoying with her Valley Girl peppiness. And the thing is, Audrey's Valley Girl peppiness, because the actress is so great, who, by the way, the actress who played Aubrey is now married to the actor who plays Jesse, I believe. Devine. What's his name? Stephen Devine? That guy. Oh, my God. Bumper. He's a brilliant actor. Apparently, they didn't even know he could sing. Elizabeth Banks saw him on a TV show and thought he was like the perfect leader, douchebag leader of a cappella group. And it turned out that he could carry it too, and then they made it work. On purpose. Uh-oh, you bitch. Ooh. And this is the beginning of the split. And this is what's great, is that Chloe here, and this is what you get with Chloe too, is, first of all, she has she's gorgeous, let's be honest. It's really nice to meet you guys. Chloe can sense that Becca has talent immediately, and that's totally a conceit in movie making, but it sets up the shower scene, which is one of the great all-time scenes later. So brilliant. Is that Becca has a sixth sense about it, and she remains having a sixth sense even though she can't stand up to Audrey. God, I'm butchering their names. Brittany Snow as Chloe can never stand up to the, nominal leader, Aubrey, played by Anna Camp, who, by the way, is Pam Beasley's sister during the wedding episode, Niagara, if you're an Office fan. Oh, here's the magic. Smell of your weird. Skedaddle. Look at this performance here. Totally hang out right now. No. Hard pass. That thing he does with his face. I don't think they were planning on bringing him back for the second movie, but they worked him in as like the major love interest with Fat Amy in the second movie. Okay, I meant to comment earlier. God, I have so much to talk about. I meant to comment. Look at the way there's no excess. There's again, it's like Captain America the Winter Soldier. I'm going to make this comparison just in terms of sheer lack of any excess. Like, you almost want it to breathe a little bit more, but who cares? Because it makes it that much more rewatchable and addictive because it just flows. This movie never feels slow. And the second movie, for all its fireworks and hilarity, does have some dead spots. And that's why I'll say this is the better overall movie. Again, they approach the second more as a satire comedy in this universe following these characters. This is really telling an origin story. This is my superhero origin story model to a T. But this is one of those rare origin stories that will probably never be topped, no matter how hilarious the successors, because of just the perfect moment and the perfect cast and the perfect crew, just delivering pitch perfect. There's a few reasons why I decided to come back to this movie. Les Mis is one, file that away. Oh, here we go. The beginning of the courtship. This is great. The first time I watched this, I wasn't sure I was totally on board with Jesse, but he really wins you over by the end. And on rewatches, it's so clear that he's the perfect guy for her. I don't know that they have great physical chemistry. Anna Kendrick, I think her main flaw is that she is kind of cold, or she gives off that vibe, and that's part of the characters that she plays. She's a little uptight, and so he's totally the fun-loving, he's the dog, she's the cat, he's the fun-loving, wants to embrace everyone have a good time, let's loosen up, let's relax, let's have fun. And this is why his relationship with Benji, which I want to get back to earlier, is so awesome, is because he approaches both in his mind in the same way. She thinks he's just a dude that's just hitting on her and being a little too up in her grill and a little too aggressive, and she's thinks she's giving him no signs, but she's already giving him subtle yes signs that he sees immediately. And that's why at the end, he says, I'm not angry at you because you yelled at me. And he goes, no, you really have no fucking idea. You have no idea why I'm angry at you. And then they get together. But the reason he's angry is because, she is giving part of herself to him without realizing it. And yes, he is leading himself on a little bit. And I think if there's one flaw, it's that they have to rush through the romance a tiny, tiny bit because there's so much girl stuff to get through in an hour and 40 minutes with all the performances. But that's why you needed a goofy Jewish guy. And I will get to the fact that for some reason, goofy, awkward, but good-looking and charismatic Jewish dudes love a cappella. There are so many Jews in a cappella at Wesleyan and schools across the country. And my camp had, a cappella groups. I mean, it's... Right, here's the memories. Yep. And this is why the setup works for me. Nope. She's my friend. Yeah. Even her roommate stabbed her in the back. All right, the radio station. So, they had to have it set up so her and Jesse would be at the radio station. Oh, well, I was saying to before, I'm really going to get to. And just real quick, this is a great setup to give her the 1-year deal. Really play hard, Becca, this year. Really go out there and play. And if you still hate it, then I'll give up trying to force you to go here. And in that sense, it makes sense that her dad's a professor. Otherwise, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but just in terms of the plot setup, it works. But the way that Jesse immediately embraces Benji, he walks into the room, he's already hitting on Anna Kendrick. He's a kind of good-looking guy, and he sees this guy with the Star Wars doing magic, and you'd think it would be like a long sell of their friendship. Nope. He immediately embraces it, and not only that, does everything possible to get Benji friends and get him in the acapella, and then later help him get laid. I mean, they just immediately are BFF, and ultimately, her recognition of that in the final performance, sold completely through looks and no words, is what locks in her love for him. Oh man, here it is. I could not believe this. 2 of the most beautiful young women on the planet, naked in the shower. But look at Brittany Stowe as Chloe here. She's so aggressive. Anna Kendrick's acting how most normal people would act, but Chloe just has a sense that she likes this girl and that she's talented and she wants to be sisters with her. So in that way, even though Becca is ultimately the one that takes over the group and revolutionizes their sound and their whole approach, Chloe's the mother. And yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Aubrey's the father, Chloe's the mother. And Chloe as the mother, even though she gets bossed around by the father, ultimately is able to keep it all together long enough to get them where they need to go. I'm not leaving. Look at her. God, she's so stunning. I'm not normally into redheads. It's something I wanted to talk about. But you look at those huge blue eyes and her face and just her whole perkiness. I think she's also around 24, 25, 26 here. And that line, by the way, where she... Oh, we didn't get to it yet. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at this. Look at the way they hold each other's eyes. I think they did this one live. Most of them were in the studio. We'll get to that maybe. You probably know that they're lip syncing most of the time, which is exactly what they should have done. They definitely sang this one live. I'm guessing they maybe studioized it a bit afterwards. Oh, look at Chloe. She's so happy. And then Kendrick immediately looks happy for 2 seconds. That's what's so brilliant this movie. Becca look happy for 2 seconds and then immediately find a reason to cause problems with other people or herself and not be happy. Look at her. Oh, Chloe is just so centered. She's so sweet. I just love her. You have a lovely voice. Delivered actually not that creepily. That's creepy a little bit, but it's not his girl. He's not creeping on the other girl. And there's a little bit where she heads on the towel and sub vocally, you could just barely hear Anna Kendrick say, "Here's McLovin." You could just barely hear Anna Kendrick say, "I still have to shower." Not sure McLovin is perfect in this role, but I will never, ever, ever be angry about a Fogel appearance. Right, and so they set it up like this is more than a high school glee club, but really it's It's not, and that's part of the appeal of a cappella in college, is that yes, you can do it more professionally, both in the college and outside the college, but like all of college is just trying to extend childhood longer, which is a big problem in our society. I don't know if I'll go there with Pitch Perfect. Those themes are obvious in the very high schooly way these all, the boys and the girls deal with each other. Divine is Divide, no doubt about it. Adam Devine is his name. I'm sorry. Skylar Astin plays Jesse. Ben Platt, Benji. Both of those guys are big Jews, and it was perfect. As I was getting to earlier, that nerdy, awkward Jewish boys. It's their way of letting loose, and those guys actually get a lot of girls. I mean, it's not all Jews, but I just have a lot of Jewish friends who are involved in this sort of stuff. And, that was the same thing with us at camp. Like, we showed up at camp. We were like a bunch of interesting, smart, but kind of nerdy, awkward. And there are all these pretty girls around who were kind of interested in the fact that we were interesting and smart and awkward and, nerdy. And that was a revelation. So, just like with the movies, I came at my awareness of what was really going behind a cappella culture kind of backwards. Yeah. And gotta love the failed audition scenes. They handle it well. Actually, they mostly set up characters who do get hired, at least temporarily. A couple get kicked off pretty quickly for sleeping with the Treblemakers. Okay, so I had heard going into Pitch Perfect 2 that there was some like minor racially questionable things. You have one Asian, you have one black chick, and she's also the lesbian, and they act very racially, this or that. Okay, so this girl gets hired and immediately kicked out for sleeping with I think the Indian guy from Troublemakers. Okay, this girl looks just like Rachel McAdams, Stacy. They don't give her enough to do, but she kills her lines for the most part. God, she looks just like Rachel McAdams. It's unbelievable. I mean, she's actually more, I guess, traditionally attractive, but not nearly as charismatic or as good of an actress as Rachel McAdams. Okay, so those two girls there, the blonde and the brunette, those are the two that are always there that never have speaking lines. I like that they have Jesse kind of break up during this a little bit. I think that was probably improv. A lot of these movies were improv. And the thing is, so much of what worked with this first movie was the improvisation. I don't know if they planned it, but with Rebel Wilson, you got to run with it. And you got, like guys like Adam Devine, you got to run with it. And Anna Kendrick can fucking improv the shit out of things, at least with her deliveries and approaches. And then when Elizabeth Banks took over in the second movie and they were going to go bigger and funnier and crazier, it made sense to actually improv more of the movie. And I think in terms of sheer humor, it works great in the second movie. But the balance in this first one is great. And we see that Benji's a great singer. The girls love him. They sell him that he's good and that they like him. And if he just doesn't say this line right here, right, that's the line that turns him off. They're already turned off by him, but if he came and acted cool for 2 seconds, maybe he could have made the team. Doesn't matter, because he gets his glorious moment at the end. And so, the Benji character with the Star Wars and the magic, it's way over the top. In the second movie, he's like so awkward around an 18-year-old who he's in love with, Haley Steinfeld, who's like the new singer. But the actor just handles it so beautifully. And because he gets his moment in the sun and because he's great at it, it sells the whole performance. And it sells so much in the second movie. I thought he was just sort of weird and creepy when I saw Pitch Perfect 2, and then I went back and saw 1. I was like, oh, Benji. I love Benji, just like Jesse. Jesse loves Becca. Okay, so this cup thing right here, anyone who's gone to summer camp has done this exactly. And that's what's brilliant about it. We're going to do the summer camp one that people are familiar with, but then we're going to have Anna Kendrick do an amazing self-harmonizing rhythm, or melody, I should say, over the top. Look at this close up. Chloe is just glowing. She's going to burst into a full smile. Anna Campbell's Aubrey is distrustful and gets more distrustful as this goes on. And this is the split. Again, I love this relationship. These two girls, look at her. She is beaming. Oh, man. Anna Camp is so funny. All right. 2 of these don't make it. But that relationship really makes it. I mean, that's the thing. In both movies, Anna Kendrick is nominally the lead, but in the first movie, the two leaders, Aubrey and Chloe, are really the glue characters to the main part of the story. Outside of Anna Kendrick's sort of development and her love interest and these douchebags. Although we learned that these guys are not douchebags, that their leader is Adam Devine's a giant douchebag. I think they say classic punt. I don't know, is that meant as a... Oh, he really thought Benji was going to be there. So here's how they deal with the hazing. It's really way, way, way worse, or just grosser, or just weirder. I don't even want to go into some of the stuff. I'm not going to say I know stories, because I know guys who've done it themselves and did it to other people. It's especially weird when it's boys and boys. I don't know about girls and girls so much. The girls and boys ones, for obvious reasons, are toned down. But the all-boy a cappella choirs tend to be very weird. And... I'm just going to be real here. And this is going to address the whole racial, dealing with homosexuality, weirdly in the movies, or race. It's all very self-aware. And the thing is, all of the white girls, the main white girls, are also playing parodies of different kinds of white girls. Even Anna Kendrick's character, yes, it's the classic, why can't we have two black characters? Why can't we have two, Latina or Asian characters? But who cares? Point being, there are actually way fewer gay guys in a cappella groups as maybe you'd think was the case, based on on just stereotypes. I have a couple very close friends who are in like the main guys, like they're the equivalent of the treble. They bring that back right in the second movie. A lot of carryovers. They really know their material. They keep track of everything funny and everything endearing about these characters, and they just keep buying goodwill. Okay, so the fact that he is already talking about kids with her, that was a big test for her. And I think he thought the fact that she wasn't weirded out and she is being flirty here, and yeah, she could have immediately been like, ew, why are you talking about kids? And she didn't. Because she knows he's right at some level, even though she thinks he's just drunk and being silly, which he is. Oh, this is great. Yeah, there's a slight lesbianic, or not. It's not that she's Chloe Slay lesbian, because she loves her men. Her ginger juice, as she calls it. Come on, baby bubble. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Bumper and Donald. These guys are great. And Donald, again, a guy you think is just like, okay, we're going to throw an Indian guy in. Nope. He has some great comedic moments throughout the movie and then absolutely kills the performance at the end, takes it to a whole new level when the troubles are the good guys, when it's good guys versus good guys. Another great part of this movie. It's not good guy, bad guy in the end. Everyone's in it together. Right, here's the beginning of the lesbianic. Whether lesbian women like, women that men traditionally like, jiggle cheese. Make good choices. Some of these lines are Anna Kendrick lines and not Becca lines, but that's totally fine. And that's what makes Anna Kendrick great, is that she can play so many characters but bring so much of herself into it. Okay, so I didn't get to earlier. So Aubrey there, played by Anna Camp, or maybe it was Brittany Snow, talks about how, and here's the party, talks about how they would just let Rebel Wilson as Fat Amy just go on for like 20 minutes at a time, maybe between takes or whatever, and they just kept the camera rolling and she was just cracking them up, and they just ended up keeping so much of it. And her solo improvisational performance, panty dropper yourself. I love it. He just called her a disgusting monster, and now he's saying we should kiss. He up until mid-second movie, he acts disgusted by her a little bit, but he's totally smitten. It was great. They even make the big douchebag, ultimately lovable because of his love of her. But her improvisational, not just ability, but presence. Here we go. This is the Leo on the Titanic. Yeah, I think that's intentional. King of the world. She's laughing. See, that was important. Little things. There's Aubrey making out with her guy. Here's a sad scene with Benji, setting up later on. He always toes the line of being like too pathetic. Hopefully if you're a good-hearted person, you would be with him anyways. But they, I think, manage to sell it even to people who, hate or claim to hate, borderline creepy or just weird characters. That actor just has a great, lovable charisma about him, and Chloe just loves everybody. And so it's not that she's physically attracted to women. In fact, one of the great running gags in the second. Right, here's Dad and Mom. And the second movie is the bizarrely beautiful but weird androgynous lead singer of the German a cappella group. He's on paper the perfect specimen. Not my kind of girl. Anna Kendrick's just constantly attracted to her and despises her, but every time she tries to insult her, ends up complimenting her. Your sweat smells like cinnamon. God, she's in my head. All right, here's the second one getting kicked out. This scene sets up everything. They've already kicked out one. Now she's going to kick out another. They could have had it just be one. Nope. And this is going to set up the exchange at the end of this scene where Becca, threatens Aubrey back and says, go ahead, kick me out. At this point, you need me more than I need you. And she's right. And thus, when Becca ultimately apologizes in this exact way later in the movie by dragging the chair, setting up that as well. I mean, the amount of callbacks and call forwards is so staggering. This script is just airtight. And I think part of the reason they do the puke stuff, just the way over the top stuff, is just to relieve some of the here it is, teasing more puke. It's just to relieve some of the minimalist perfection of the script and the way they cut and edit the movie. So they've already kicked out two. We're learning that there's lots of different personalities. Oh, right, they didn't know about it. That's great. Would they have auditioned if they had known about it? 2 hours, 7 days a week. Cardio. And this is the beginning of the Becca Fat Amy. I don't like calling her Fat Amy, but she calls herself that and wants other people to call her that, or so she says. So, the beginning of the second movie, when they're seniors and been doing this for 4 years, Amy and Becca are best friends, and they set up perfectly. They're exactly the two poles needed to counterbalance the two other poles, if you can, 4 poles of Anna Camp here as Aubrey and and Chloe. And so part of what they establish right away is that the physical tics and quirky personality bits of all the characters, and they play on them. And so when they're kind of fixing and instructing, when Mom and Dad are fixing and instructing all the new students here, vertical walking, horizontal walking, it's honing in on all those little idiosyncrasies. Here's Stacy being way too over-sexualized, rubbing her body, grabbing her tits, rubbing her crotch, moving her head around, being way too... And this is, that's classic acapella 101, from what I can understand, is do not over-emote. If you're going to be, melodramatic, save it for the right moments of the performance. Try and keep it pretty low-key and let your singing do the talking. And they're setting up little dance moves. I mean, this is the thing. I've seen this movie a ton of times just because I liked it, and then I loved it, and then I think this is a work of cinematic genius. And if you're with me this far, at least you can agree that this is an extremely tight and well done movie for the masses that doesn't insult them, but speaks to them. And you see some of these little quirky moves later, I think we missed it before with Stacy, where she kicks up her leg and they're telling her not to do it. And then in the final performance, she kicks up her leg in the exact same way. And they incorporate the songs that they sing throughout it. Now, I heard Anna Kendrick interviewed, I don't know if it was recently, but I heard it recently with Stephen Colbert. And, Pitch Perfect 2 is technically the highest grossing musical ever. But, Anna Kendrick pointed out it's not a traditional musical because they're aware that they're singing within the story. The songs aren't part of, or all, Les Mis is pretty much all the narrative is singing. All the dialogue is singing. here they're, apparently self-aware, but that's what's so brilliant is music is as intrinsic to their lives and singing is as intrinsic to their lives as, the characters of Les Mis in singing their own lives. And you lose yourself in the media and the format and the presentation because you're still getting those dramatic beats. And what makes great musicals great, and this is the Les Mis connection, which I'll get back to later. Right, here's the I don't like you, you need me more than I need you speech. A toner is that you can actually get emotional, dramatic beats out of movies like this that you can't out of movies without music and dancing. She's constantly accusing her of hooking up with Jesse, which she's not. It's interesting to think whether that is. So you think Anna Kendrick's reaction to all this is, I'm gonna actually go hit on Jesse, and she does a little bit just to shove it in Aubrey's face, but it actually informs her annoyance at Jesse always being around, not realizing that they're in the same crowd. So of course he's always going to be around. Becca's just very unself-aware, and Anna Kendrick, who's a very, very, very self-aware person, and most of her characters are overly self-aware, and that's what makes this performance so brilliant from her. Is she's very, very self-aware of what she says and what she does. And that her perception of reality isn't everyone's perception of reality. Now, she's very, very good at picking up on other people disliking their performance. And that comes into play multiple times later, especially with the big, conflict where she interrupts the millionth Ace of Base performance to try and do her mashup, which, in typical Hollywood fashion, causes the main conflict, but is already putting you on the road to how things will get resolved. Oh, here we go, the nodes. She's so dramatic, but it's just so appealing. I have nodes. I found out this morning. What are nodes? Yeah. I knew about this, but I worked in the music business. Anyone who's we all know people probably have dealt with this, but especially if you've dealt with singers, this is a major, major problem because sometimes really good singers don't actually know how to sing. And so it puts undue stress on their vocal cords and other parts of their body, and they're not using their diaphragm, and they're not, shaping their esophagus, their windpipe in a certain way. Right. This is the survivor's thing. I'm a survivor. Oh, it's so sad. You just want to hug her. Now, I won't talk too much about the second movie, but because Anna Camp plays just a support role in the second movie, and Chloe's still there as like a seventh-year senior or whatever, they have to make her a little bit more in the Anna Camp role. Here, the courtship continues. I know so many guys like this. I think that's part of why I wasn't immediately attracted to this character, because I just know this guy, and I genuinely like this guy, actually. And I think that's what, I'm just jealous of him. That's what I realized after a few watching this movie. I'm like, I am so jealous of this guy because he totally gets Anna Kendrick, and he totally deserves to get her. He plays it about as right as he can, and it's because it's coming from the heart, and that's what she ultimately realizes as encapsulated by The Breakfast Club. The fact that she's entertained by this little goofiness is just proof that she likes him. If she was not interested in this guy, she would just be like, dude, get the fuck away from me. Yeah, this is great. You needed this sexual tension here. But the jealousy from Jesse is never irrational. It's totally rational. This confused young woman in this guy is not only hot, but can do things for her. You think she's going to sleep with him, and that's what's going to set it off with Jesse, and that's what this movie resists so well, is stuff like that. They didn't need it. They just needed a little bit of sexual tension. Right, and now he's stepping up the game because he's worried about this other guy, and he's worried he has a window, and he's got it. I totally know this guy. I went to camp with this guy. I went to camp with like 1,000 of this guy. God bless him. Tyler Aston, also big New York Jew. It comes naturally. It's what's funny, Anna Kendrick is like Welsh, Scottish, Irish from like the Northeast, very waspy in her heritage. And she kind of falls into some of those stereotypes in terms of being a little uptight and cold. I think that she plays that. Oh, right here, right there. There's the cute, sweet coming out. Oh, she hates movies. Right. When she first said this, again, this movie moves so fast and you're paying attention to so many things, like how cute Anna Kendrick is. You realize that she's saying she hates movies. But it's worse than hating movies. She's just apathetic towards them. But she can't see the musical connection, and he helps her see that. Right. And this is the self-referential, the guy gets the girl, we're going to mention it casually, we already know it's going to happen, and so why not make it it's not a joke, but a gag. Okay, so Vader, so he loves Star Wars, which is great. Little things. He didn't have to have a conversation with Benji saying, I love Star Wars. He mentions this is one of the best scored movies ever. A moviecation. Yeah. He's overly aggressive, but she's not really pushing him away. It's an interesting dynamic. It's endlessly fascinating. Now here's the riff off. I don't have to explain too much what's going on here. But yeah, just in terms of their relationship and where it is at this point, I think she's just not sure. And I think that he's so confident and he's so much more emotionally stable and mature and developed than she is, coming from a better family life and just being there. Yeah, exactly. The fake competition, she's not at his level of self-confidence and development. And I think that is the factor that he just does not take into account. And I've made this mistake plenty of times with women who are nowhere near as cool as Anna Kendrick, but who were, similarly emotionally stunted, who seem so like womanly and complicated on one side, but beneath it, there's just layers and layers of insecurity and just never kind of growing up emotionally. I mean, you still see this with people of all ages, Jesse just innately has that. He innately connects to people like Chloe. He innately embraces people, loves people, and I've gotten burned on that, with girls. Ultimately, Anna Kendrick, comes to the right conclusion from her perspective and from his perspective, but that doesn't always happen. I think people men and women, could relate to that dynamic. All right, here's the stoners. So this doesn't exist. I'm sorry. As far as I know, there aren't these like apathetic, barely talented, stoners who dabble in acapella and who are welcome to acapella events. They would be laughed off the concrete here, whatever it is, at least by my friends. As I was saying, they're in the Wesleyan Cardinals who go back like 130 years. So they do classical music, but they also do, show tunes, and they do pop stuff. They do everything. And they were the weirdest of all because they were the smartest and most interesting guys. But when those guys got together, oh my God. Stories I could and will not tell you. Right. What's great is Stacy's never discouraging that hard. What's her name? Hitting on her. There's so many names in this movie. Esther Dean, who plays Cynthia. So they tease this relationship, which is great. I don't think this ever happens. But he's definitely a playa. He already got someone kicked out. Yeah, and Kip knows that he's responsible for getting that other girl kicked out. A little bit. Yep, she comes right back out to him. And that's the thing. Is Stacy the smartest or more, most interesting or deep character? Nope. But she just, they slot her into these little, she has a rational confidence. That's what's great about this motley crew. The only thing holding them back is Anna Camp as Aubrey. And Aubrey eventually realizes it. Okay, so here he's basically declaring his love. She blows a kiss. She's still not creeped out by him. Yeah, he interprets, oh man, that look on her face. Yeah. Right. This is her declaration of love. She doesn't even realize it. So there's a direct line from this exchange right here to the final scene of the movie where they're singing nominally to an audience, but really to each other. Look how they film this. And smiling, trying to stay confident. Keep going, he says. Yeah. No one's stopping her. And they lose on the technicality, and that's the thing. So Aubrey's the one holding them back. If Aubrey wasn't in the picture, these guys would already be rocketing towards the top. But the problem is, or not the problem, the whole idea is they need to go through her like boot camp, which is why they reprise an actual boot camp in the second movie with Anna Camp's guest appearance. Yeah. Oh God, Amy's always giving the finger to everybody. Look, yeah, this is it. She's starting to feel it. She's starting to feel him. She's liking the competition. This is the first time she feels happy. She's smiling. She likes performing with the audience. You got the people sitting up top, watching it. That's the way it is in real life. They act like it's only a cappella people, but they're always, some of the stuff is behind closed doors, but most of it they like to have audiences for, in my experience. So it's cool that they added the people sitting up there. We out. Okay, so there's a direct line between me doing this right now and getting into like the top 5 or 6 lip sync battle episodes, of which Anna Kendrick is part of one of the greatest, if not one of the top 2 or 3 greatest, with John Krasinski. And it's super self-referential because lip sync battle really wouldn't be a thing if not for Pitch Perfect and I guess Glee and stuff like that. But, she's considered the queen. And she takes down John Krasinski, who does everything possible to be condescending towards her, to wear skirts and dance around like Tina Turner. And he even makes a joke about her little cup thing earlier. The cup song that she does for her audition. Right. This is the turning point right here. Bookmark that. Right. Anna Kendrick saying this is great. It was spontaneous. Right. And this is so it's interesting to think if Aubrey was not in the picture right now, would Anna Kendrick as Becca be emotionally stable enough to step immediately into the leadership role? She has to go through the boot camp, as I was getting to before. And so that's obviously part of the journey, and it's called a counterfactual question. It's a hypothetical, She has to be humbled by both this situation and her situation with the girls. Right, so he very quickly says, now I'm the one who's talking, right? Did they just cut that too quick? Was he already planning on saying it? She knew he was planning it. It's like a little obvious what he's going to do. I think she thinks he is kind of predictable without realizing that he's being unpredictable. This is right here. That look. Okay. So I said there's a direct line between their, going at each other. She got super competitive with him. He was blowing her kisses and she jumped in. That was meaning the love story. And this is the beginning of the end before the new beginning. Because he thinks this is... they play this great, actually. He only moves for the kiss when he sees her staring at him. Okay, there's Judd Nelson, Breakfast Club, amazing movie, got to rewatch it. He's giving her a play-by-play. He knows she's not into it, and so he's trying to, do color commentary to make it interesting. How does she know who Judd Nelson is? Who knows? Like all Biz under it. Black coffee top with his morning dumps. She's smiling. She loves it. She goes, I'm an idiot, weirdo. You should let other people tell you they're funny. Yeah, fun facts. And this is it. And we see this image just twice. We see it here, in an awkward pause, and then we see her crying watching it later. She's watching him be so into it, and he thinks that she's thinking, I want to hook up. And she's not. She's considering it, and she's really thinking, oh my God, this guy is kind of weird. There's a weird charisma about him, and I'm kind of attracted to him, but I don't know what I'm doing because I'm emotionally stunted. And that's where the I guess the sort of not on the same wavelength element is. He's ready to fast track this, not because he's not patient. He is patient. But she shows not only lack of progress and just their emotional connection, but, digression, great digressions. So you have to have the early bumps in the road. The nodes, the nodes. Sorry, I'm just watching this. We're sort of mid movie, talking a lot about the relationship, just because it is very subtle, and you know, Skylar Astin, acts on screen like he's a theater guy, and I like that. It's a little bit of a caricature, but it's a lovable caricature, and it's multidimensional. And I guess the key is he runs ahead of himself a little bit, and then she continues to react increasingly negatively because of it, and that's why ultimately he does take her back so easily. You could say right here the conflict continues, it builds, the tension between these two build. Some alt girl with her Mad Lib beats because she's never been in a competition. Have I made myself clear? Right. She says, I'm only going to solo if I get to do it. And this is key, actually, that Amy gets the first new solo. And that's probably why they had to have Chloe have a vocal problem, so that they needed to get the new girl soloing. I mean, it's all taken care of. And this is, I have to think this is a callback to Up in the Air with George Clooney, which, as of this recording, I have queued up and have almost watched a million times. I'm going to watch very soon. I heard it's great. I know she's great in it. I may have seen part of it on television, but the whole flight attendant thing, it might be a coincidence. But, one of the things I gotta get to here is that, Anna Kendrick was already a huge star from childhood. She was nominated for a Tony when she was like 12 years old. She's nominated for an Oscar when she was 24. Somehow she's managed to handle herself so well. I have to think it's familially based with these actresses when they have a good support system of friends and family. Right here, the sock puppet singing "Fuck You." But is that Anna Kendrick has become completely, because of this movie becoming such a sensation, but also her other performances on late night talk shows and, lip sync battle, doing this stuff and being an awesome dancer and singer and performer. Like Anna Kendrick is like a thing, it's like, the Anna Kendrick show. And that's why when she's able to play amazing parts, like in 50/50, which is one of my favorite movies, Under the Radar, I've already rented to rewatch on Amazon after having rewatched this, where she plays an extremely uptight, way more uptight than this character, psychologist for Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's going through chemotherapy, having cancer at a very young age, and she's his therapist, but she's more of a wreck than he is, and that's part of why they come together ultimately. That performance from her was so good. She's so uncomfortable in her own skin, and the transformation she goes through, and you just contrast it to this, and there are similarities in being uncomfortable in their own skin. But the difference is, in 50/50, she's hyper self-aware, as opposed to here, where she lacks self-awareness in a lot of areas. Now, she's self-conscious, which is different than being self-aware. Self-aware has more to do with other people. Self-conscious has more to do with yourself. I think I am both self-aware and self-conscious. I almost take other people into account too much at times at my own expense. I'm a lover, not a fighter. What can I say? There's Stacy with the bra. I love that the recurring sort of musical plot theme is Ace of Base, The Sign, which when it came out in the early 90s, not only did we love in 6th grade, it played all the time. It's such a corny song, but it's so well produced and performed. It's so addictive, and sort of the candy, cotton candy aspect of the song is that no matter how great this performance is in terms of its choreography, it's still going to be Ace of Base, and that they rely on that, and that Aubrey is obsessed with it. They never say it. Oh God, Brittany Snow. That's the thing. This is my problem. Is I go from woman to woman, and I never lose them along the way. Scarlett Johansson and Zoe Saldana, and now Anna Kendrick. They're all still my faves. But I keep getting new faves, and Brittany Snow, and in this movie in particular, but in both the movies, is so just natural beauty. And then you read that she was a child model from like the age of 3, and was fucked in the head, as all 3-year-old models who go on to stardom become, seemingly, other than Anna Kendrick. And she had bulimia and anorexia and major weight problems. She had to get therapy and leave acting for a while. And I meant to see, when the shower scene earlier, Anna Kendrick's so stunned at Chloe just loving being naked around her. And Chloe's like, looks at her body and goes, "I'm very confident about all that." And Anna Kendrick, with a half-cocked smile says, "Yeah, you should be." I'm sure that was written into the script before Brittany Snow was cast, but there had to have been a great moment of her. I think this is maybe 5, 6, 7 years after she dealt with the problems. So she was well back into acting and looking great and being awesome and feeling good about herself. And just that's the thing. I read it and I'm like, that makes sense because she's so beautiful. She's a young actress, but the way she carries herself, she's so comfortable in her own skin. It's amazing how these young actresses in particular who can get through it, not the Lindsay Lohans, the Brittany Snows, can get through it, rise above it, and end up, despite major body issues, which, of course, is often the most more teasing. Uh-oh. I love Jesse's reaction to Etta Camp. He's equally horrified by the look on her face. And what's great about Anna Camp as Aubrey, having known her first as Pam Beesly's smiley, flirty, cute sister, is when she puts on the smile, she's so cute and pretty and attractive. And so, she, with those big front teeth of hers, she has to be forcing a grimace the whole movie. And goddamn, she nails it. But that's why you buy her conversion at the end when she decides to say, "Fuck it, I'm giving it over to Becca and we're going to have a good time." This is an amazing performance, by the way, just from a technical standpoint. And this sets up the Indian dude as central. This sets up that they've already recognized that the Frosh, Jesse, is going to be a central part of this whole thing as the heir apparent already because of his talent. Yeah, there's Anna Kendrick. She's always eyeing them. Something I've never considered is whether their dominance, even though she claims to hate Aubrey's rule of not sleeping with them, even though she claims not to want to sleep with Jesse, it's so complicated and doesn't care about the competition, but it's possible. Their effortless domination, yep, she's smiling, their effortless domination of the Bellas, these guys, the troublemakers, effortless domination of the Bellas factors in subconsciously or at some level with her being annoyed by Jesse because he's seemingly in a much better situation than she is in terms of the stability of the group and how far they've progressed, and they're better and they're more fun. But they flip it on its head at the end where they face a crisis and Jesse jumps in and the thing is they never mention any of these things explicitly. There's never, "Oh wow, look, Jesse took over his group at the very end, just like, Becca took over her group at the very end." Nope, it just happens, just effortlessly. There's Benji, the big number one fan. And so, it just makes sense. They make the story make sense. None of it's forced. This is a great scene. Joe Latruglio, God bless him, on the right. He has cameos in probably half of the most hilarious movies of the last 20 years. I mean, Wet Hot American Summer, Superbad. This movie, he's so where this is going even before the troublemakers walk out. Actually, this whole scene coming up, the fight and what comes out of it and what's explained about it really makes no sense. But I think that's the point, is it's just Anna Kendrick acting irrationally and being angry and blaming everything on everyone else. Oh, dude, get a life. Sonic Boom. Performing our oral magic. Right? These guys are specifically looking for a fight. This is great. These are old, angry, bitter, ex-acapella dudes. I wouldn't fight him. Yeah, tough guy. Tough guy. Adam Devine. Right, he calls him Gandhi. Oh, he's talking to the Indian guy Gandhi. I never got that. That's so obvious, and that's why. Right, Jesse gets angry. He's trying to protect his friends. Okay, so this guy's trying to start a fight with Jesse. I'm always trying to figure out this scene. Okay, now Becca goes there, and now we got backup coming in the form of Rebel Wilson. Yeah, she's just mad. She claims to be protecting her friends later, and then yells at Jesse. Seemed like she was protecting Jesse. I think that's I think that's what makes the next scene so arresting in the jail. Is you think this is a big step for her, that she is angry at her whole situation and is just confused and frustrated. But right, and she stands there and she's the one that gets arrested. And Joel and Trujillo thumbs up and they bring her back at the second one. Right here. So she's thrilled to see him. I think at some level she thinks she was defending him. Thanks for bailing me out. And then called the dad. Right. So why did he call the dad? Could he not afford to bail her out? Right, because he's acting like the boyfriend by calling the dad. But he's a professor, so he would have her number. I was just trying to help you. Right. Yep. Got it. Right. He's the only one who's there. Why wouldn't her friends come? Yeah. This again, the dad stuff never adds up. It's not the actor's fault. That was sort of like that was probably the one forced conflict. And because of the performance and just the heartbreaking look on Jesse's face, thinking that he is helping her. And that's the thing. She doesn't want his charity. This is a classic case of he is emotionally helping her as a friend. Yes, he wants to be more, but he's also emotionally helping her as a friend. It's interesting to think if she did move towards him but just wanted to be friends, what would have happened? You wouldn't have a movie. But people who need help don't want help. As someone who's been there, I can tell where she's coming from. It's usually has to deal with just issues that you haven't dealt with, and she deals with those issues eventually. But he is being a little paternalistic to her. He's being a little daddy to her. She already has a daddy that she doesn't like. Yeah, I think that's what's going on there. It's amazing to get so much commentary out of this movie, honestly. I mean, queer balls. Yeah, she wants to change the face of acapella. This is the beginning. We're a little over an hour in. We're maybe like 65% in. And you think the tension's going to blow up here. But what's interesting about the way they frame Anna Kendrick's character, Becca, is that she actually doesn't blow up, really, really blow up at Aubrey until until she actually actively tries to intervene. And that's why ultimately her apology about she shouldn't have, stepped on the toes and made the song way cooler without asking. She's wrong about that from a practical standpoint, but the whole idea is she has to drink humble juice. Movies like this, where your lead characters you like are relatable but are very flawed and are pushing away people around her that she shouldn't be, or at least doing so for questionable reasons, you need them to drink humble juice. And drink it she does, just like she's drinking this tall drink of water. What's great about Anna Kendrick, if you hear her, in movies, are just she uses old-fashioned expressions, which is her tiny little young-looking self. And she talks about her heart as the old ticker. Right, now he's starting to rub it in and trying to make her feel bad. She still does not understand why he's upset. And honestly, it's not clear that she's wrong. I mean, she's wrong in the sense of this upcoming scenes are great. She's wrong in the sense of they are great for each other, and she is leading him on, and letting her own confusion sort of overflow onto him, as she tries to figure out herself at the expense of his feelings. But, she's right in that she shouldn't have to be forced into a relationship, and he seems to be a little, a little overbearing. Okay, we'll stop with the relationship stuff for now. I don't know how I got to be Dr. Drew here or whatever, talking about the relationship. I just, I'm on like a little Anna Kendrick spell, and I'm fascinated by her performances and the role she takes. Yeah, and the kiss thing. There's vomit, there's, in little things, like they cover her in burrito, she cleans herself up, but then, nope, they leave a disgusting piece behind her ear to keep her rage, flowing to her love-hate relationship with Bumper. Where did they come up with the name Bumper? Oh, that's brilliant. This script was definitely written strongly before they cast, which makes the ease at which these characters actors come into these characters and add in spontaneity and naturalness and improvisation. Oh God, it's so gross. It fuels my hate fire. Look at Anna Kendrick's response. I like this girl. Yeah. Yeah, Anna Camp taking it all in, Aubrey. Look at this. Everyone's saying stuff but not saying anything. I shat myself when I saw this. I love this song. This is like one of the few totally popcorny songs I love. I just think it's a brilliant pop anthem. And Miley Cyrus, I think it's a great voice and is talented. But to have it come out like this with cute, sweet, beautiful, adorable, lovable Chloe being the one who's having, node problems and insecurities, but she's belting it out. She doesn't care. I like how this is the one song that she won't sing. Anna Kendrick, that is. Oh, great look from Stacey there. Look at them. They're so in us. They so clearly love themselves. And obviously when they decided to do a second one, which was not a foregone conclusion, this made way more money after the fact. It became a, viral sensation. DVDs, Blu-rays, digital files, soundtracks, and so forth. They make a ton on the soundtracks. I've paid for the soundtracks. She could be forgiven for having forgot to put gas in after getting hit by a flying Mexican food, I believe she says. Pretty cool, actually. I mean, Rebel Wilson is just a brilliant comedic talent. There's no two ways about it. I don't think any one of her... I mean, Melissa McCarthy is big, but she's not fat the way that, that Rebel Wilson openly plays herself as fat. And in Bridesmaids is the same. I mean, that's her thing. You just don't see flabby women. But because she has such a pretty face, and she's such just an appealing person in the way she carries herself, and, she knows when to sort of cover herself up a little bit more, when to just say, fuck it, I'm just going to wear anything. Yeah. She's falling in love with him, and when why'd your bumpers dumper? You see Becca smiling back there. I mean, this is one of the things I wanted to highlight. Every little glance, because there's so much time with music, and because with music you need to expand it by using physical movement and smiles and the way you look. And so, in fact, the sort of funny a cappella looks that you get when people sing, that's part of the fun, but also part of the hilarity of the whole thing. They work into the non-a cappella parts of the story. I mean, this kid here, so this is like the worst ever, what do you call it? MacGuffin, I believe is the term. Deus Ex Machina, whatever you want to call it, that how easily they find out this kid's a high school kid. I actually had an idea about a better way to do it, whatever. I mean, he throws Anna Kendrick a look later when he's dancing. I think right here. Is he going to do it? He's dancing. All right. Oh, there it is. A little look. And Kendrick, what? Did you just look at me? High school kid? This addresses the lack of minorities in general. To be fair, having gone to a school that purported to be diverse, but but population was still mostly white. Most of the a cappella was white. There may have been some black a cappella groups. There were so many. There were definitely people of color in a cappella groups, but it was mostly white. And so I think that's representative in some ways. And for for the cheater to be a black kid from probably a poor high school. So here's where they take a step forward, and it's all because of I hate calling her Fat Amy. It's all because of Fat Amy. And again, the ace of base. I couldn't believe this when I saw. Yeah. Oh no, this is only the second time. I forgot. They do it a third time. When they do it the third time, and that's when. So when they do it the third time coming up, I couldn't believe they were actually doing it a third time, just from a movie making standpoint. But it's all building Becca's frustration, right? She's being made fun of by a high school kid. Oh no, here it is. This is the third time, right? Sorry, we're way ahead from what I thought I was. Right, we already saw. We missed, or I missed. Fat Amy's great performance. This is where Becca loses it. They're doing the third time. That's what they do it 3 times. Because you lose it with her. You're going, please, someone save Aubrey from herself. Because Chloe sure is not as hell going to stand up to her. Unclear where the set goes after that. I love that they pick up, as dumb as these two are, they pick up on the conflict, the cattiness on the stage. Oh God, Elizabeth Banks. Is she not the most appealing person ever, just all around? Right, this is it. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this. Let's see how the choreography goes on this. Right, so you expect the group to stand up for her. Chloe's still not standing up for her. Even Amy's scared. That's the thing. They're all so scared of Aubrey. And that's a very girl thing. The alpha girl is in some ways more dominant than the alpha male in some social groups. Right. This is this is what's so brilliant. This is where you think there's going to be a positive step forward for Becca, but this sets him over the top. Yeah. Of course you're here right now. Yeah. It's daddy issues, I think. Yep. Time to bring the pain. They got him on the mic now, Benji. He's getting closer. When I first saw Becca wait, I'm going, oh no, please tell me Jesse's not running after him. Nope, Benji is. We never see. This is the only interaction coming up between Benji and um and Becca. But when she smiles at the end when he gets to perform, you can tell that she knew about him because Jesse talks a lot. I'm sure he talked about his lovable but weird roommate who he's trying to help out and trying to get in the group and so forth. Right? There's the bag. I guess she thought maybe I could have other sons, and so why would anyone suspect? And Benji's the one to put it all in motion, and the karma comes back to him. I mean, that's the thing about this movie. This is the classic, Hollywood good karma movie. If you're a good person and you work hard, and eventually everything will come back to you. And that's not really how life works, but that's why we watch movies like this. She wishes her a nice spring break. So what I like about this is she immediately does not feel bad about yelling at Jesse somewhat irrationally. I mean, you could understand. He's right there. He's about to perform. He hears, you're hooking up with Jesse. He's not trying to swoop in and be the savior that she thinks he's trying to be. He's just stating the obvious, which is, trust me, we're not hooking up. I wish we were, but we're not. But the way Anna Kendrick plays this, there's not some... I mean, she has her crying moment, but it's at the perfect time watching The Breakfast Club. Who didn't cry watching that movie at some point? So here she is alone. Everyone's on spring break. She finally has some time to think, get a break, do her music. This is her meditation. It's her Zen thing. Right, stock shot of him being sad with mom and dad over for spring break. He plays it great. He's a subtle actor, honestly. Like, some of these guys, they just, because he's a theater guy, he has to intentionally underact at times. Because between the theater thing and the a cappella thing, I mean, these people are so overexpressive in both the real life and how they act. They just have a ridiculous amount of energy in the way their face moves. And right, that's the thing. She sees the CD and the fact that it's a soundtrack. She says, okay, I'm going to watch this thing. I couldn't believe this when I saw this. I'm like, they're going to play this for a laugh. But she is just staring probably at nothing. Maybe they're having her watch it or at least listen to it. But there it is. Right, and they hold on it. You got to hold on it. She's crying. But because it's the Breakfast Club and it's all hitting her now at once, look at this display of emotion. She's crying. She can't believe she's crying at a movie. She laughs at herself and then causes more crying. Oh, I fucked up. All right, this is just plot service here. It's great that they're the announcers, but they're also the judges and the coordinators, and it's that. What are you gonna do? It's Elizabeth Banks, and oh god, he's so famous and has played this role before a million times. What the hell's his name? John Michael Higgins. Excuse me. Brilliant duo. And she's doing what do they call this? Is this Pilates? I don't know. I've only done yoga. I've never done any of the other stuff. Oh, poor Chloe. I just love Chloe. I don't know if I could ever work with a girl like this, but look at that. She's so in it. That's the thing. These actresses are just all bringing up one another's games. I think the thing is, they were just so geeked to be able to make this movie with like a relatively decent production budget for what it is. All in, bitches. I love it. They were just so geeked that it was like, okay, well, everything else now is gravy because we're going to get to look sexy and cool and awesome, lip syncing ourselves, singing other people's songs and dance around, and it's going to be great. Oh, here it is. And so when they were just allowed to improv and it's not method acting, but it's method acting in the sense of, I think, whether these girls are all friends in real life or not, during the production of this, they all acted, and felt like they were, sisters. In fact, their chemistry is so good. I've commented about this in some movies before. Their chemistry is so good that the fact that 95% of the movie is them finding their chemistry on screen, it's almost like they have to work at disliking each other because they so clearly like each other. That's just a compliment to the casting and the cast. Right, I called you, left a bunch of messages, he ignores them. I don't know. My problem is I probably would have taken one of those calls and been weak. He did the right thing. He has to not teach her a lesson. Yeah, but she really embarrassed him. Embarrassed him in front of her people and his people. Right. He says that in a slightly condescending way, but he's right. You better figure it out because I'm done with whatever this is. So the question is, did she ever see this as anything? She was just being a girl. That's the thing. And ultimately that's what this movie's about. It's girls becoming women and boys becoming men. And that's what there's that brilliant line. Women. Yeah, little moments like that to establish that they're still hanging out and they're both being weird in their own ways, He's watching the movie with popcorn by himself. Benji's in the trunk sawing himself in half. In the second movie, his come on line to Haley Steinfeld is, I just want to saw you in half. I almost want to do the second movie just because it's so hilarious. And Haley Steinfeld as the new inductee is brilliant. But let's be here. This is it. You could really watch Okay. Awkward. It's hard to believe, but from now until when the final show is done and they're kissing is like 20 minutes at most. And the temptation here, from a filmmaker standpoint, would be to linger longer. But I think they just decided they weren't going to have this guy be more than just a sounding board for her. Yeah, he just doesn't seem like her dad. But she's doing a good job. It was just easier, right? It's also really lonely. That's a great delivery by him. And that's it. That's right. She's lonely. She's not letting them in. That's not all her fault. She's not letting Jesse in, but that's not all her fault. It's, this is the be the better person thing. She apologizes for things that she doesn't even need to apologize for. Oh, this is great. John Mayer personally through an assistant. There's definitely like Ed Helms, Ed Helms from The Office going on here for sure. Andy Bernard. I wonder if he was channeling that a little bit. Yeah, he just ditches them. Yeah. The fact that they're all in a tiny hot tub together this is completely realistic for male a cappella groups. They love being naked with each other. I'm not going to name my friends. If you're listening to this, I love you, and I love that you did this kind of stuff, but it's pretty funny. And again, most of them are heterosexual, and there were some gays, and no one really cared. That's what was great. It was solely neutral sexuality when the guys were at each other. I kind of respect it. Just a group of guys sing a bunch of cover songs. Right. He doesn't say we won't let you stay. He says they won't let you stay. He doesn't care if Benji's weird. He loves it. Got it. Yeah. They had to time that perfectly. Got a little shaky cam going on. That's what you do during tense moments. You get the camera moving. You get it shaking around. Disorient yourself. That's what Joss Whedon does with the Avengers when the Avengers are fighting. This is the Avengers of A Capella. This is the superhero story. This is it. I mean, this is like the exact story structure as the first Avengers movie, if you look at it. Uh-oh, should have listened to Becca. Usually redheads don't wear red or orange, but goddamn is she stunning in that. I almost feel bad for Aubrey. Uh-oh, here it comes. I'm going to have to take the earphones out for this. This is so gross. Oh, no. In a camp, she has to be so bitchy and so controlling. And, but she never comes off as dislikable in terms of her performance. And that's so hard to do, to be the controlling bitch that everyone hates and has to listen to. And that's what I was saying, because she's actually really sweet in real life, I think, when she transitions to, okay, I'm just going to have fun and give control over to Becca, it just transitions so perfectly. It doesn't feel forced because she is sweet. Deep down, she just, she needed to grow emotionally too, just like Becca. I guess that's really what's going on, actually. It's Chloe's between Becca and Aubrey. Chloe has to grow a tiny bit just in terms of her reining in her idealism about people always doing the right thing. Wait, here comes the shot. Oh, at the butt. Oh, Cynthia's still trying to cop a feel at Stacy. Stacy gets mad, but never really confronts her about it. Right, here it is. Right, so she says, I'm sorry. And this is leadership. This is what's great. Right. And this is so she's Robert Downey Jr. in the Avengers. Ride with me here, people. Okay. Captain America is it would be Chloe. I guess there's some mix of Chloe and Aubrey because they butt heads. But this is Robert Downey Jr. saying, okay, I will crawl on a wire to help my fellow soldier. She really means those words. This is a great performance from Anna Kendrick. You can't teach this. You can't teach this. Look at And the sound design, look at the way she stops almost as a joke. She's smiling. That's the thing. They have trouble not smiling occasionally because they're cracking each other up. And they leave the vomit. That's what I was going to say. I just feel bad. You know, the Anna Camp, she got vomit on her. But it turns here. Right, they explain this all to father issues. And this is where they connect. And this is where the daddy issues come in terms of her reaction to Jesse being so overbearing. I don't really think I ever made the daddy connection with Jesse. It's really crazy. It's all improv. I mean, when Rebel is improvising, the other girls are just improvising back, trying to hold their own and not crack up. Right, so leadership step 1. So she goes from being Tony Stark to Captain America. And last sex. We know. Right, so leadership number 1, rule 1, eat humble pie, even beyond your actual faults. Be truly humble, even if you may have been right about some things and wrong about others, just say I'm sorry. Rule 2, get everyone together, get on the level, get people to be more honest, start trusting each other. This is what Steve Rogers is always trying to do, with the Avengers team. Gambling problem. Oh, this is the reveal that Jessica, I think her name is on the right there. I still love you. One of her, I think, 2 lines in the movie, baby. And what's funny is they make them look kind of, just normal, not particularly pretty looking. But then when they're dressed up for the performance, they look great. So I think that they decided they need 2 extra singers. It's going to be a gag, but we actually need them. So we're going to put them in the background and kind of make them look just average. But then we'll let them shine in the performances, which I'm sure they were happy to do. Yep, this is it. This is true wisdom. Right. That's what she's saying to them. It's like, the reason I'm so chill, guys, as fat as I am, is because I'm just honest with myself and everyone else. My name's Fat Patricia. I think that's the improv. They start smiling. I love it. I like in these movies when they do crack a little bit, just because it shows how much they're loving the process. That's pretty cool. Right, that's the most girly-ish thing she's said and done this entire movie. She stopped being, oh, I'm so much better and cooler and more alternative than you. Oh, this is great. I made the courageous decision to remove my nuts. I'm courageous. Again, this role could be so annoying, but she's so relatable. She's a drama queen, but it's never selfish. She's broken up about not being able to sing, but she's more broken up about not being able to help her friends. Right, so mom finally convinced dad after all of this nonsense. Dad's handing over the reins to the student or the kid. I don't know how these relationships work. All right, here we go. That's it. I mean, this is just a straight ride from here till the end. So it's hard to put into words the extent to which this final sort of 15 to 20 minutes starting here, musically, how brilliant it is. Now, I don't think that the people behind the movie developed the idea for the first time ever in 2012 to do mashups in a cappella. In fact, I'm pretty sure I heard mashups in a cappella in college. The idea is really the extent that they go to work in so many musical themes, but also lyrically making everything line up and sound like it is just one giant song and not just singing over, basically things that make just... Sorry. I from here on out, I just can't stop watching Britney Snow. I apologize. She's so pretty. Here they go. This is it. Boom. They're going to dominate the world for the next 3 years. But, right, that it's not just musically working, but that thematically it's there. So the Bruno Mars song that was wisely chosen by Aubrey, They Work, back into the final performance. And then it's hard to keep track of as much as you listen and sing to it because it's so seamless. Becca's singing the song that she sang earlier, maybe with Chloe, or did they work that in later in the shower scene, Titanium? Yeah, you can tell they're real singers what they're doing with their mouths there. They're really trying to sell it, but it's not just selling it to us. It's selling it to themselves. They had to make it look, and feel realistic to themselves while they were performing in the movie. That's another great MacGuffin about how they could finally have a baritone singer. Again, it's poking fun. Early on, the horribly misogynistic and dumb John Smith, the announcer points out, part of the reason female a cappella groups haven't broken the glass ceiling, so to speak. Oh my God, Elizabeth Banks doing the blow job thing. It just kills me every time. That's her way of warming up her mouth. um, but it's true. I mean, there's a lot of sexism involved. It's hard to argue that female pop stars don't do better than male pop stars. I mean, there are way more successful, top of the line female singing pop stars than male pop stars. But when it comes to a cappella, when you talk about people have 4 or 5 vocal, 4 or 5 octave vocal ranges in all kinds of music. If you look at the list of the people of the famous singers and musicians who have the highest vocal range, the top 20 to 25, everyone from Chris Cornell to Jim Morrison to those kind of guys, it's almost all men before you start hitting some ladies. Even singers like Aretha Franklin is super soulful and can belt up, as Chloe says earlier. She has a high belt, but it's just the way the vocal cords are constructed, and so it is a little bit of a disadvantage depending on what your criteria is. Okay, here it is. You can and I have watched just this. I mean, this is like watching, the Battle of New York and the Avengers, just for shits and giggles. And what's great is, as awesome as the girls are at the end, this performance is all-time great. This actually has twice as many hits, I think, on YouTube as the girls' performance. I think I saw this had 20 million and the girls had 10 million. Not surprising, because... I mean, ladies love guys who are good at a cappella, they love Anna Kendrick, but if they're really going to have their own guilty pleasure, they're going to watch these guys. And I hate to admit it, watching these guys is a guilty pleasure for me, too. Yeah, Aston really kills it here. And he dances totally like a Jewish theater guy. And he doesn't overdo it. His little hand movements and the way they dance around. This is a great move right here. It's alright. Man, I've resisted singing the whole time. Lights in a big city. She's getting hot. Becca's getting hot. And Amy can tell. This is the best. This is the best. The whole movie's worth it just for this. You're going, is he going to screw up? Look at Jesse's face. He's so happy. I love they frame this. Look at Jesse. Follow Jesse. Follow Skylar Austin. He's so thrilled about his friend. He's completely blocked out. Becca is that's what I was saying earlier. That look right there. She's going, oh my God. I kind of love this guy and he loves this other guy and I love him for loving this other guy and helping his boy be happy. He really is just trying to make me happy. Oh, boom. This guy's amazing. I can't pronounce his name. There's something about Indians and Arabs when it comes to hip hop. They can really do it. I don't know what it is. If it's just color of skin, maybe it's just white people who, it's like Eminem and then everybody else. But really throughout the Latino world and the Asian world, and obviously the African world, when it comes to hip hop, this is great. Turning everyone to gold, the Midas touch. I listened to the original song. I didn't know the song was a thing. It doesn't have that many hits. It has a couple million. This is a way better version. I mean, like times 10. You want a full song of this. Boom. So they definitely performed this live. I didn't do a ton of research. I read Wikipedia and everything. But they definitely got a crowd, and they warmed them up with some other a cappella groups, is my guess. And then this was their first performance. And they had to film this numerous times. And so when you get insert shots of them dancing, you don't see the crowd. That was filmed afterwards or later. But they definitely did like one or two real performances, because you'll see the way the lights are on them. And this is a girls all loving each other. That's the thing. I have kind of a feminine side. Not in terms of like I love women, as you could obviously tell, but I have a soft side to me. I like this stuff. That's why part of the world I love this movie. But it's really because it's a brilliant movie and has awesome music and dancing into it. That's it, and it's hilarious. So if you watch this performance, so this is an insert shot, not clear. They make the seem like Jesse's really there, and that's a testament to Aston's reaction when she points at him later. So here is real crowd. This isn't like a green screen. And you can see them really start smiling when they get into it later. And when Anna Kendrick gets her intro, people go crazy, and she has a big smile. Again, brilliant. You're going, this is another Ace of Base situation. They're starting slow when they should start fast. But this becomes their hallmark. And they get away from that in the second movie, and they have to come back to it. All American. Brittany Snow, God bless. Yes. Yeah. It's such a great release. You're waiting the entire movie for them to get their shit together and be awesome, and they finally do it for like 3.5 minutes. It's such a tease, but that's what makes it so addictive. Because each part is so fun and poignant and funny and weird. Okay, right here, puts his head down. Yeah, okay, so look at Anna Kendrick. This is definitely the first performance. Look at her face. You got cameras going off. Yeah. You can just tell if you've seen enough live shows. This is totally live. I mean, they're lip syncing their own stuff, but they're getting the crowd riled up. I mean, these are big stars in a big movie. Who wouldn't be pumped to see this? And this is what NSYNC does. They're not singing. It was a great reveal that he recognized the song, but you're going, okay, is this just him playing with his heart more? Oh, he's such an optimist. He really wants to believe. And here it is. Yeah. Yep. He nods a little tiny yes. He knows it's coming. They do it a third time to really sell it. It's great. He's about to start crying. God, this is a great scene. Yeah, it's easy to see why teenage girls will love this this movie. I love this shit. I love when they tell corny but relatable love stories of movies. It's not even that corny. It just ends corny. Oh yeah, you got Chloe doing the bass. She's laughing. She can't sing that deep. This is really awesome. This is actually better, than the final. Their final performance in the second movie, not in terms of fireworks, obviously. And the original song idea for the second movie was great, but there's so much, emotional build up to this scene. There's so much going on here. I mean, she's singing to Jesse. I mean, she specifically looked at him and pointed at him and said, don't forget about me. Look my way. But if you listen to all the lyrics, I mean, it's all about love, and all these people have various relationships. This is great. I'm so glad they added this. This makes the performance. This is like the Indian guy rapping. You need this. You need a little just throw down. Oh, yeah, and they keep revisiting Don't Forget About Me. Oh, it's awesome. And I love that song, too. Love Breakfast Club. Don't love the Don't You Forget About Me song. I love that song. Look at this. Oh, they're killing it. You can totally tell they're doing this live. The energy level is ridiculous. It's completely consistent. This is all one take. And you do not know how hard this is. This is so hard. It doesn't matter that they're lip syncing. Yeah, playing the guitar and the like. They had to nail it. That's the thing. The whole rest of the movie, well done, ladies. And if you just look at the way they smile at the crowd at that very minute when they stop. I have a screenshot I took. Look at them here breathing hard. They definitely did this. This was like a American Idol-esque performance in front of a crowd. I don't know how big the actual crowd was. Look at them. They're so happy. You know, they probably... I'm thinking if I'm the director, I save this for the end. It's often stuff is out of order, but this really feels like them celebrating nailing this movie as well as, you know, nailing the internal storyline dynamics between them. Elizabeth Banks, one of the part of the main brain trust behind this. And again, you want like a longer, denouement, you want like a longer post-resolution here. Yeah, I told you endings are the best part. And they could get away with that line because they set up the line earlier, the self-referentialness of it. I would have maybe had him play a little shyer. I would still be a little skeptical of her at this point, given her past behavior, but, I think I'm just jealous. I'm standing there watching him make out with Anna Kendrick in like the exact situation. I would love to do that with a girl. It's amazing. But he seems like a good guy, so. Yeah, Fogel, as he does in all movies, Fogel gets better as the movie goes on. Belly roll. And they just go straight to the credits here after the tease. Of course, they don't show Chloe. Once they decided to... Okay, here we go. All right, nerds. She's already the queen bee. They don't have Brittany Snow there as Chloe. They must have known that they were going to bring back at least Chloe, if not Chloe and Aubrey in the second movie. They wisely brought back Chloe as a central character. She's the glue. She's the mom. You needed her. And as I was sort of hinting at earlier, by the way, amazing movie. What I was hinting at earlier is that they need, in the second movie, slightly older, more seasoned Chloe to have a little bit of Aubrey-ishness to her. Because... Aubrey's not there to lay the smackdown, and that's not really Becca's personality, and so she needs to be a little bit of disciplinarian, but because of her personality, it's never nearly as grating or chaos form. In fact, Chloe's still not the cause of any of the problems in the second movie. She's ultimately the cause of them getting back together. She's the heart and soul. That's what's great about this movie. Anna Kendrick and her love story with Skylar Astin as Jessie is seemingly the center of the story, but it's really about Chloe and Aubrey and Rebel Wilson and the other girls. It feels like everyone gets their time to shine, but no one gets enough time. Just in terms of like you wanting more, there he is with John Michael Higgins and the amazing Elizabeth Banks. Thank you. Here it is. This is funny to me on so many levels. They showed one of the improvs just to give you a sense of what was going on set with Rebel Wilson just coming up with this shit all over the place. And they make a referential joke about being a ginger, being punishment enough in the second movie. As a redhead, I have definitely taken my fair share of wall-ups from the time I was a kid, even till now. Comments about my complexion or my hair color. Really, people are just jealous, and that's what I've come to appreciate about being a redhead. But it's especially true when you're Brittany Snow, who I think is a blonde in real life, but that's why the red hair looks so real. Usually red hair looks fake when it's dyed because it's on brown hair, but when you dye blonde hair, anything, it's going to look pretty real, and it works perfectly with their complexion. So the fact that she's somehow cursed for being a ginger, even though she's, sorry Anna Kendrick, I love you, the most beautiful of all of them, and all of these young women just stepping up and being confident to just be ridiculous and put themselves out there. this movie could have totally bombed, and it didn't make a ton in the box office. I think it made slightly over 100 million, but the budget was not very big. And, with sales of a video and audio after the fact, they're like, okay, we'll make the second movie, and then they made a killing. They beat Mad Max, thank God. Maybe I'll get to that in the intro about this coming out and beating Mad Max in the same year, why I'm so in support of that, even though you think me being a dark sci-fi nerd. So yeah, I mean, that movie just flies by. I really focused a lot on the relationship stuff. I think it was because, when I do these commentaries, I come to, how do I say this? I end up honing in on some stuff that I don't expect to. And the more familiar I am with the movie, actually, it happens more frequently when that's the case. I mean, when I've seen the movie a lot, I end up, honing in on things I didn't expect. I didn't expect them because I thought I knew everything. Like the whole connection with Jesse being like a second father to her, and that being such a huge turnoff in her mind because of her dad issues, and like that kind of stuff. I tried to talk about the girls. I love their relationship. You're gonna have to make it about the main four with Amy and Becca and Chloe and Aubrey. And everyone else is going to be kind of a support, but they all get their time to shine. This is definitely better and more rewatchable than the second one. But having watched the second one first, maybe this colors it. There are sheer moments of true comedic genius and hilarity, mostly involving, it's Keegan-Michael Key. I always think it's Peele from Key and Peele. Yeah, Keegan-Michael Key. As a P. Diddy type, maniacally egotistical but still brilliant music producer that Becca's trying to get in the good graces with, is so funny. And I guess it's not out of nowhere. I mean, she's another child actress who's been nominated for shit, but Haley Steinfeld, born in 1996, who was the one new major character that was like, set and is continued to set. I think they've already announced Pitch Perfect 3 for next year, if you can believe it, with her being the central character along with Anna Kendrick, I assume, depending on what Anna Kendrick wants to do. But Haley Steinfeld, who is somehow Jewish, she looks, ambiguously ethnic and gorgeous, is very, very young. She must have been, I don't know, 17, 18 when they made Pitch Perfect 2, which would have put her like a good 10 years younger than the other girls, even though she's supposed to be 3 years younger than them. She was playing more her age, but it's just absolutely hysterical in her own cute, awkward, quirkiness. And the Germans are very funny in the second one, but this is a classic. I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, this spawned all sorts of spin-offs. Maybe I'll mention in the intro about the lip sync battle, which is very uneven, but when you get great matchups for the lip sync battle on Spike, but really just watch it online on YouTube with John Krasinski versus Anna Kendrick. When you have the Tatums, Channing and his wife, who's a dancer and actress, Jenna, go at each other, is awesome. Definitely worth checking out. Anthony Mackie versus Joseph Gordon-Levitt, only because Joseph Gordon-Levitt does Rhythm Nation. It perfect Janet Jackson imitation out of nowhere. There's a few good ones. The very first one between The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Jimmy Fallon, who helped popularize. I mean, there's a direct line between all these people. I'll throw some of this in the intro. Is that if you look at sort of the NBC team of, Stephen Merchant and Krasinski and the people behind The Office and the NBC stuff and Jimmy Fallon, and Fallon popularized it, but Krasinski came up with the idea. But the idea could have never happened without Pitch Perfect and people like Anna Kendrick. There's really a shared community of young actors and actresses in their late 20s and early 30s who like each other and who are friends and, who like to sing and dance and be goofy and do stuff. It's definitely part of the social media generation, but I'm not convinced that it's superficial. They really embrace it. And people like Anne Hathaway, who have been hated on, despite her brilliant work as also a triple threat dancer, singer, actor, and like Anna Kendrick can be hilarious as well as super intense. Despite her haters, she's decided to go out in public and do these shows and have fun doing them and kick ass, being great, at singing and rapping and dancing and stuff. And has won her back many supporters, I think. It is superficial in that sense. We should just judge them on their, their on-screen performances. But that media, let's be honest, is beyond blended into reality TV and, all these various simulations of reality. I'll stop here. This is actually a great podcast. Discussion for later. I will wrap up by saying I love this movie. I love the cast. I love the way it was done. I thought the sequel was as good as it could be and made up for a couple weaknesses by just being hysterical and really well visually executed. And Aca-Awesome. Bizzle up.